Hello everyone, welcome to the Talking Book channel. Today I'm going to talk about a book which has a title that is very respectful as for me. Yes, the book name is Venkatesha Suprabhatam, the story of a beloved Indian prayer. Yes, Suprabhatam is indeed a very much beloved Indian prayer. It is played everywhere all over the country in the early morning hours. You can listen it on the highways, in the dabas, anywhere you go in the morning hours, especially in the southern part of India. Suprabhatam, the name itself indicates it is a morning prayer and it should not be played at any time of the day. I have a respect to this particular prayer such that I will not play it at any time of the day, even after 8:30 a.m. I feel it should be played only in the very early morning hours by 4 to 6 actually, but it is not feasible for us, so I consider it to be played by 6 to between 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and after that I don't feel like playing that song or that prayer because it is quite disrespectful if we play it after that time. I feel actually. And I also will not lay on a bed when I am listening to this particular song or the prayer. So if I'm sleeping, if someone is playing this prayer, then I'll surely get up from the bed as soon as I listen to it. And this Suprabhatam is such that whomever listen to this will not feel like sleeping. This is a kind of awakening prayer. So it is not awakening the God, it is awakening us, the ignorant people, to pray to the supreme energy. So whenever the Suprabhatam is played, I will never sleep. Even if I'm sleeping, I'll just get out of the bed as soon as I listen to it. So I was introduced to Venkatesh Suprabhatam when we used to visit our grandmother's place at Chennai, where my uncle and auntie also stayed. So my uncle used to play this song early in the morning hours, like by 7 a.m. or something, when we kids were sleeping. And as soon as he plays the song, I feel like getting up from the bed. I was not aware of this prayer or anything about the Suprabhatam at that time. All I felt was this is kind of peaceful and divine, and it is not letting me sleep more. So that is what I felt when I at first listened to Suprabhatam. I really liked the song, but I was not aware of who sung it or what it is also. But later, as I grew up, I came to know what is Suprabhatam and who is singing that MS Subbalakshmi, and that's all. And it is in Sanskrit language, that's all I know. So I never felt like knowing much about this prayer because all I felt was it's a beautiful poem or a song recited to the great God to wake up from his sleep. But I think it is actually for us to wake up from our slumber. So, listening to this Suprabhatam at Tirumala Tirupati, where the Lord Venkateshwara resides, will give you a very different divine spiritual feeling. I really love it. So, now let's get into this book. This book, Venkatesha Suprabhatam, is written by Venkatesh Parthasarathy. So, I guess this is his first book, but I'm not sure. But the idea of writing this book came for him while he thought of gifting his father something for his birthday. But then finally he ended up in writing this beautiful, wonderful book called the Venkatesha Suprabhatam. So in the introduction part, he talks about that, in the prologue part. But in the introduction part, he explains how the book has been organized into 4 subdivisions. The first section traces the evolution of the worship of Lord Vishnu and sets the context for the composition of the prayer. The second section includes the life of the composer, Prativadi Bhayankara Anna himself. So this Suprabhatam is composed by the so-called Prativadi Bhayankara Anna. His name is something else, but he gets this title after winning some competition, something. So the second section includes the life of the composer and attempts to estimate the date of the composition and the early history of its recitation. So when it was at first recited, kind of. The third section covers the period from 16th century to independence. The fourth section traces the recitational history of the prayer since 1947. In the introduction, he also talks about the importance of the Sanskrit language and how it is diminishing. I mean, learning Sanskrit is diminishing. He says the consequence of not studying our own heritage is that we will have to rely on the interpretation of others. He ends the introduction by saying this Venkatesh Suprabhatam poem was actually a semi private recitation by a very few in the sanctum at Tirumala. So the prayer is privately recited to the Lord by few of the priests in the sanctum of the Tirumala temple. So this came into the outer world, out of the sanctum, by or through many ways, and especially the MS rendition, MS Subbalakshmi ma'am's rendition has taken it to a wider audience, and now it is recited everywhere at every home in the early morning hours. So basically the book translates the Suprabhatam verses and then talks about the particular things that are mentioned in the particular verse. For example, in some verses, it is said that the 7 sages are standing for you, waiting for you. Oh, please get up, dear God, kind of. And then after translating the particular verse, the author describes about the 7 sages, the stories related to them. So we get to know a lot of stories related to the people and nature mentioned in the verses of the Suprabhatam. So if you ever have listened to it, you would have noticed that always most of the verses ends up in the word called Tava Suprabhatam, meaning a good morning to you, my Lord. And in between, the author also talks about various other religious texts like the Nalayara Divya Prabandham and Tirupalli, which actually stands as the base for composing this Venkatesha Suprabhatam. Because when the statue from the Srirangam was shifted to Tirumala at one period in the history, this Tirupalli was recited to that particular statue of the god from the Srirangam. At that period, the priests at that period of time thought that there is a need for a separate prayer for awakening the Lord Venkateshwara. So Tirupalli was for the Srirangam Perumal, and this one Suprabhatam was then recited or composed for especially for the Venkateshwara Swami at Tiala Tripati. This was said to have composed spontaneously by Prativadi Bhayankara Anna. The author also talks about his way of living, Prativadi Bhayankara Anna's way of living, way of praying to the god, and how he served the god by carrying a pot of water every day for the Abhishekam. The book also talks about various Arvars who composed various songs or poems for the Lord Vishnu. The book has many information about the so-called Tirumala Tirupati and how it was formed and how it is now, how various kingdoms handled this Tirumala Tirupati and how it escaped the rule of the English people and the Mughals when they destroyed a lot of temples, and how this particular temple escaped from that, and how slowly the Suprabhatam came to the audience from the private recitation. It talks about various rulers who donated a lot of things to the temple, about Krishna Devaraya, about Achyuta Devaraya, etc. Especially the Vijayanagara Empire has done a lot to the temple's developments. I like the part in the book that is where the Suprabhata Seva is described in detail, and also the Anga Pradakshina. All these are the sevas done for the Lord at Tirumala Tirupati. And I also liked the story about how the Akashaganga Tirtha was formed. It was indeed created by the god himself. I never knew that because I visited Tirumala Tirupati. I know there is something called Akashaganga Pond or the Tirtha. I know there are various places to visit there, but I didn't know that this was created by the god himself. And the author also describes about various different statues or the idols that are used at temples. For example, the main statue or the idol is called the Dhruva Behera, he says. And the Dhruva Pera of Tirumala Tripati is a spontaneous one and not created by anyone or not sculpted by anyone. It just formed as it is magically. So, well, whatever. This book is beautifully researched and written by this particular author called Venkatesh Parthasarathy. Good job. And I must also insist that this book is for a layman reading and not for the scholars. This is for the ones that are curious, like us, the common people. So, the scholars or the pundits in Sanskrit or about the temples, etc., can avoid this book because you may know more things than this. This is just a very little thing that needs to be known by common people. That's it. I also must talk about the wonderful cover that was created for this book by the Harper Collins. The beautiful red color cover with lotus symbols and the conch symbols. And the description at the back of the book is very attractive. It starts with the first verse of the Suprabhatam. I would like to recite it now. Kausalya Supraja Ramapurva Sandhya Pravartate Uttishta Narashar Tula Kartavyam Devamanhikam. I hope I have recited well. I'm not sure. So the meaning of this is, O Rama, son of fortunate Kausalya, the eastern twilight is breaking. Arise, O tiger among men. The daily morning rituals need to be performed. These stirring lines begin the Venkatesha Suprabhatam, a beloved prayer that is an indispensable part of the morning routine in South Indian homes and temples. So this is how the book description at the back of the book starts. So this will create a very curious intention for us to buy this book and read it. So why wait, guys? Go and pick this book, read, and let me know what you felt. I'll meet you with another great book. Don't forget to like and share it to the ones you love, and do subscribe to our channel for more such contents. I'll soon get back with another book. Till then, bye from the Talking Book.